Manchester, from cotton mills to football glory. There's a pulse that runs through Manchester, steady, proud, and unbreakable. A city once veiled in the steam of cotton mills now shines beneath the floodlights of football glory, from the Industrial Revolution's smoke-filled skies to the anthems that echo from Old Trafford and the Etihad. Manchester's story is one of transformation. It is a tale of people who built, endured, and rose again. This is Manchester. From cotton mills to football glory, a city forged in fire and reborn in passion. The Birth of Cottonopolis. Long before Manchester became a name whispered in stadiums and song lyrics, it was the heart of industry. Cottonopolis, the city that clothed the world. In the late 18th century, when spinning wheels gave way to roaring machinery, the hum of progress filled the air. The Bridgewater Canal carried coal from the mines, powering mills that sprouted like iron cathedrals along the River Irwell. Steam engines chugged, looms rattled, and Manchester became the workshop of the Industrial Revolution. By the mid-1800s, more than half of Britain's cotton exports were tied to this region, making Manchester a symbol of invention and ambition. The wealth that poured in reshaped its skyline: red brick warehouses, towering chimneys, and bustling markets. But while fortunes were built above ground, sweat and struggle powered the gears below. This was Industrial Revolution Manchester, a place where dreams were spun from thread and determination. The human engine of industry. The real strength of Manchester wasn't its machines, it was its people. They came from the farmlands of Yorkshire, from Ireland after the Great Famine, and from every corner of Britain, drawn by the promise of work. The streets filled with the accents of a new working class, families squeezed into narrow terraces, and children learned early that the whistle of the mill ruled their days. It was hard, unrelenting work, but it built something extraordinary: community. In those sooty streets, pride took root. Workers formed trade unions and cooperatives to defend their dignity, the same spirit that inspired the Rochdale pioneers and reshaped labour across Britain. The people of Manchester didn't just build machines, they built movements. In their struggle for better lives, they laid the foundation for modern society. It was the birth of working-class power, and Manchester was its beating heart. A revolution of ideas. While factories thundered outside, ideas sparked within. Manchester became more than an industrial capital. It became an intellectual one. Reformers, radicals, and dreamers gathered in its halls and cafes. Here, Friedrich Engels chronicled the brutal lives of the poor, and Karl Marx walked the same rain-slick streets, their conversations shaping thoughts that would echo for centuries. This was a city unafraid to challenge power. The Manchester Guardian, founded in 1821, was born from outrage after the Peterloo Massacre, giving voice to reform and reason. Science thrived too. Manchester's laboratories birthed discoveries in chemistry and physics that would change the modern world. In the midst of soot and hardship, Manchester became a lighthouse of progress, proof that intellect and industry could coexist. The city didn't just weave cotton, it wove ideas that redefined freedom. When the mills fell silent. No empire lasts forever, not even an empire of cloth. By the early 20th century, Manchester's mills began to fade. Competition from abroad, wars, and economic crashes tore at its industrial core. By the 1960s, the rhythmic thunder of looms grew faint, and once mighty factories stood silent, their windows broken, their chimneys still. But decline didn't destroy the city, it only tested it. When one industry died, another spirit awakened. The same hands that spun cotton turned to new trades: engineering, design, and later, digital technology. The old warehouses found new lives as apartments, cafes, and studios. The people adapted because Manchester always adapts. Its greatness has never come from what it made, but from the will of those who made it. This was not an ending. It was a metamorphosis. from factory floors to football fields. As the mills grew quiet, a new sound began to rise, the roar of the crowd. Football wasn't born in Manchester, but it was here that it found its soul. In 1878, a group of railway workers formed Newton Heath LYR, a modest team that would one day become Manchester United. Just 2 years later, a small church in Ardwick gave birth to another. St Mark's, the seed of Manchester City, what began as recreation for factory workers became a religion for generations. On muddy pitches and cinder grounds, men played for pride, not pay. They played for the streets they lived on, the mills they worked in, and the neighbours who cheered them on. Football became the new industry of Manchester, one that traded cotton for dreams and sweat for glory. United, City, and a tale of two passions. There's no rivalry like it, red versus blue, pride versus pride. For over a century, Manchester United and Manchester City have told two sides of the same story. Both born from working-class roots, both raised by the same northern grit, and both worshipped across the world. United became the global symbol of triumph and tragedy. Under Sir Matt Busby, the club rose from the ashes of the Munich air disaster, 1958, to lift the European Cup in 1968, the first English team to do so. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, they dominated the modern era, turning Old Trafford into the theatre of dreams. Meanwhile, City's tale was one of heartbreak and rebirth. From the dusty terraces of Main Road to the shimmering stage of the Etihad Stadium, City's revival under new ownership in the 21st century transformed them into one of football's great dynasties. Yet, beneath the trophies and rival chants, both clubs remain bound by one truth. They are Manchester's reflection. Two passions, one heartbeat. This is the true Manchester football glory. Rivalry born of respect and shared history. Rebuilding after the storm. By the late 20th century, Manchester had endured more than most cities could bear. Factories shuttered, unemployment soared, and the skyline that once symbolised progress became a monument to loss. Then, in 1996, the unthinkable, a massive IRA bombing ripped through the city centre. The blast shattered windows for miles, but it didn't break the spirit of Manchester. Out of the rubble came renewal. The city rebuilt not just its buildings, but its confidence. The Manchester Arndale, the Printworks, and the Northern Quarter rose from the ruins. Later, Media City UK in Salford Quays brought in the BBC and ITV, transforming Manchester into the creative hub of modern Britain. Innovation returned, art flourished, and the world took notice. Manchester proved again that resilience isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning to dance in the rain. The sound and spirit of Manchester. While cranes reshaped the skyline, music reshaped the soul. From Joy Division's haunting echoes to the Smiths' melancholic poetry, from Oasis's swagger to the euphoric beats of the Manchester scene, the sound of Manchester became the soundtrack of rebellion and hope. In the late 1980s, the Hacienda nightclub stood as a temple of youth culture, pulsing with electronic rhythm and unity. It wasn't just music, it was a movement. The working-class spirit that once filled the mills now filled dance floors. From gritty rehearsal rooms to world stages, Manchester reminded the world that creativity was its new currency. Even today, the Manchester music scene thrives in the same way its industry once did. Through raw passion and the refusal to stand still. It's a city that doesn't copy trends, it creates them. A city that never stops changing. Manchester's story is one of constant rebirth, where chimneys once smoked, glass towers now gleam. Where mill workers once toiled, students, artists, and entrepreneurs now dream. The University of Manchester, Science and Industry Museum, and the restored Ancoats Mills preserve the city's industrial soul while pointing toward the future. Every brick tells a story of labour, loss, laughter, and legacy. Manchester has learned to honour its past while embracing what's next. It's a place where technology hums beside history and where pride in the old world meets the promise of the new. The same energy that drove the Industrial Revolution now fuels creative innovation, sustainability, and global influence. In every sense, Manchester regeneration has become a model of how cities can reinvent themselves without losing their soul. From cotton mills to football fields, from soot-stained walls to stadium lights, Manchester's journey is a masterpiece of resilience. It is a city that turned hardship into art, labour into legacy, and rivalry into worldwide passion. Manchester, from cotton mills to football glory, isn't just a story of a city. It's the story of people who refuse to be forgotten. The looms may have stopped spinning, but the spirit of Manchester never will. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell.